Radhe Radhe, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
Welcome to Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Mandir, Gopinath Bhavan, Shri Vrindavan Dham. Shri Gurudev ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Rupanand Gauri Guru Varga ki jai, Pati Pavan Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Prem Purushottam Shachinandan Gaura Hari ki jai, Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki jai, Radha Ramana Ju ki jai, Giriraj Mahārāja ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Shri Narottam Das Thakur ki jai, Tadiya Tiro Bhav Maha Mahotsava ki jai. So we will begin with Mangalacharan, page 1 of this book, Shri Gauriya Giti Gucha, Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapatakama.
Dayitaya Kripa Bhaye
कृष्ण संबंध विज्ञान दैने ब्रह्मवे नमः माधुर्य उज्ज्वल प्रेमाद्य श्रीरूपारूढ भक्तिदान श्री गौर करुणा शक्ति विग्रहाय नमोस्तुते नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्रीमूर्तये दिनकारिणे रूपानुगं विरुद्धाप सिद्धान्तध्वंसहारिणे नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षाद्वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्भारसम्बोधे पदं पूजायते नमः नमो भक्तिविनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामिने गौरशक्तिस्वरूपाय रूपानुगम्बरायते गौराविर्भावभूमे स्वं निर्देष्टा सजनप्रिया वैष्णवः सर्वभौमश्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः वञ्चाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते तप्तकञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जयतां सुरतो पङ्गो मम मन्दं मतिर्गते मत्सर्वस्वपदम्बोजो राधामनोहरो दिव्यवृन्दारण्यकल्पद्रुमद श्रीमद्रत्नागारसिंहासनस्थो श्री श्रीराधा श्रीलगोविन्ददेव प्रेष्ठाय सेव्यमानः स्मरामि श्रीमद्रसरसारम्भे वंशिवततस्थितः कर्षमेनुस्वनैर्गोपी गोपीनाथश्रीस्तुमः वृन्दाय तुलसीदेव्यै प्रियाय केशवस्य च कृष्णभक्तिप्रदे सत्यवत्यै नमो नमः पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्तव्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम् जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द चेतोदर्पणमार्जनं भवमहादामग्निनिर्वापनं श्रेयकैरवचन्द्रिकावितरणं विद्यामधुजीवनम् आनन्दं मुनिवर्धनं प्रतिपदम्
Jesus, we're having some severe allergies. We think it's to the construction above. Usually you don't live in a construction site. And they've been banging literally on the roof all day since 9 in the morning. And for some reason we feel like something is getting in our lungs. So please forgive us. We're choking a bit today.
Shri Guru Charana Padma, Kevala Bhakti Sadma.
Oh yeah. Page 28.
Shri Guru Charana Padma, Kevala Bhakti Sadma. परंपरा की जय, श्री नरोत्तम दास ठाकुर की जय, तदीय तिरुभाव महामहोत्सव की जय। एबारो करुणा करो वैष्णव गोसाई। Shri Narottam Das Thakur.
Page 44. And if they don't have a songbook, what should they do?
If you do not have a songbook, you should consult with Jiva Pavana Prabhu. Jiva Pavana Prabhu daily posts all of the bhajans in the comment section of the thread. So just scroll to the most recent post of Jiva Pavana Prabhu, and there you will find the bhajan along with translations, frequently followed by excellent commentaries by our acharyas. So thank you so much for that Seva Jiva Pavana Prabhu. We extremely appreciate it, and Dandava Pranam.
Also, I just want to make a request. Some devotees in the last couple days were also posting lyrics. I think they were new to the thread. Just let Jiva Pavana Prabhu do it, because then it could get a little bit mixed up. If just one person is posting the lyrics, it's best. And that is Jiva Pavana Prabhu's beautiful seva for the last 8 months.
And then Lavangalata Didi, she's posting the page numbers.
So it's all there. Dandava Pranam, dear Vaishnavas.
So, page 44, Ebaro Karuna Koro. Ebaro Karuna Koro Vaishnava Gosha. Shri Rupa Manjari Pada, page 50. 50. Shri Rupa Manjari Pada. This is the goal, the hope, the aspiration, the everything of Srila Narottam Das Thakur and all of those who are in Narottam Parivar. That means all of those coming in his line, his lineage, including all of us. Page 50. Ha ha Gosvāmī Prabhu ki jai. Next, we will call out in the prayer of separation for Vaishnavas. Jai Anilo Prema Dhana Karuna Prachur. Page 99 in our songbook, or whatever Jiva Pavana Prabhu posts in the comment section of the thread. So this bhajan was written by Śrīla Narottam Das Thakur in deep separation from Vaishnavas. But when we're singing it in a mood that when will this feeling of deep separation manifest in our hearts for those Vaishnavas and also for Śrī Narottam Das Thakur. Maybe the other one. No, on top of that. Thank you. One second. Jai Anilo Prema Dhana Karuna Prachur. Hey Now we'll call out to the mercy of Gaur Nityananda Prabhu. In the words of Narottam Das Thakur, Gauranga bolite habe, Pulaka Sharir, page 86. Hari Hari bolite nayane babe neer. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Śrīvāsadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda What's the time? Namami Nandanandanam. Just learn to Krishna Deva and down here first. Namami Nandanandanam, page 289. And then Radha Kripakataksha Stavaraja, page 285. And then Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam, page 290. Or if you don't want to worry about page numbers, just scroll for Jiva Pavana Prabhu's most recent post, and there you will have it. These ones I'm bound by harmonium. I'm feeling heated up. 289.
Prasuna
Page 290.
That just hurt my thumb.
So this is on behalf of all the Vaishnavas present and not present, why not?
I can get burnt. Krishna Mahamantra.
Jai Ho!
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol Shri Ki Jai Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Rupan Guru Varga Ki Jai Shri Narottam Das Thakur Ki Jai Kadyatir Bha Maha Mahotsav Ki Jai Shri Gaur Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai Radha Vinu Bihari Ki Jai Raj Mahārāja Ki Jai Hari Nama Sankirtan Ki Jai Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Jai Gaura Premanande Hari Gaura Pahoy Namajiya Haribo. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktāya Tadbhaktāya Namo Namaha Ajnānatimirādhasya Jnānanjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Namine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedānta Swāmini Namine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Giring Yatrapatamaham Vande Shri Gurung Dinatarinam. First of all, I offer my Dandavat Pranam thousands of times in the dust of the lotus feet of our beloved Gurudev. Nitya Lila Pravishta Vishnupad Ashto Tarashata Shri Śrīmad Shri Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja. And the same thousands of Dandavat Pranam in the dust of the lotus feet of Nitya Lila Pravishta Vishnupad Ashto Tarashata Shri Śrīmad Shri Bhaktivedānta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada. And on this day, the anniversary of the disappearance of Śrīla Narottam Das Thakur from this world, I'm offering my Dandavat Pranam in the dust of the lotus feet thousands of times of Śrī Narottam Das Thakur, and to all of our Rupanuga Gauriya Guru Varga, and to all Vaishnavas past, present and future, including all of you who are with us today, I offer my Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, dear Vaishnavas. Radhe 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 Shyam.
Radhe 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 Shyam. So this day for us, the anniversary of the disappearance of Śrī Narottam Das Thakur, is a very powerful, very heavy, and very important day. Śrī Narottam Das Thakur figures prominently in the lineage of Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that we are coming in. And Śrī Narottam Das Thakur, he has shown by his own example how we must be if we want to really retain the mercy of Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and our Guru Varga. The appearance and disappearance of Vaishnavas are considered to be non-different. They are non-different, but yet they have speciality. Radha and Krishna are also non-different, and yet they have speciality. So with the appearance, our Srila Gurudev Srila Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja said that upon the appearance of any Vaishnava, most people don't know what their qualities and their glories are. But upon the disappearance, they can look upon their whole life and understand, these are their greatness, these are their glories, these are their qualities, and we can glorify so much. But after the disappearance of that Vaishnava, regardless of whether it is appearance or disappearance, we can remember all of their glories and pastimes. To take advantage of these days, to remember the grace, the blessings, the mercy, the power of these Vaishnavas and their devotion to their Gurudev, to their Guru Varga, and to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Radha and Krishna. This for us is the source of all auspiciousness. And also, simultaneously and subsequently, it is also the source of the removal of millions and millions of anarthas, unfavorable, detrimental things from our hearts. So today we have received, by the grace of Sri Narottam Das Thakur and our Guru Varga, the opportunity to remember, to reflect upon, to meditate upon, to speak, to hear the wonderful glories of Sri Narottam Das Thakur. And on this day, because whenever I've heard Sudevi speak on Sri Narottam Das Thakur, she gets so excited. I remember once...
I get excited when I speak about anything.
About anything, but we were in New Braj one year and she spoke for 2 hours one day on full force, and then 2 hours the next day on full force, the whole time, just on Srila Narottam Das Thakur. And so I would like to invite Sudevi to come forward and offer her Shraddha Pushpanjali, her heart like thousands of flowers, at the lotus feet of Sri Narottam Das Thakur.
Dandavat pranama Vaishnavas. Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So it's really interesting if you think about it. Well, I don't know. Something I was thinking about. And that is when we have the camera and we're walking all around Vrindavan, you'll see like 50, 60, sometimes 70 people jumping on and watching to see the holy Dham. But on a regular basis, we see that there are certain individuals that want to hear. They want to see the Dham, the holy places, through the ears, meaning through the Leela Katha of our Guru Varg. Because generally, if we're walking around here, you see what? So many monkeys, so many pigs and motorcycles and shops, and you see so many interesting things. But without having some attraction to Hari Katha, without having some attraction to hearing about Vaishnavas, hearing about the glories of Krishna, hearing Krishna Tattva, some Siddhanta, then all of it is really just another kind of sense gratification. So it's so important to hear about these Vaishnavas actually. When we think about Srila Narottam Das Thakur, our Gurudev said his kirtans and bhajans are very near and dear to the Vaishnavas, and especially to us. Why? Well, a very long time ago, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was on his way by pretense to Vrindavan. He never actually went the first time that he was going, but he used that as an excuse to go and to meet Sri Rupa and Sanatan, who were not Rupa and Sanatan at the time. They were working for the Muslim ruler, the king. So, after Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met with them, he was coming past one place called Khetri Dham. And as he was coming past that place, he looked over toward that province, and he started to scream out. All the devotees were doing kirtan. They were chanting the holy names of the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became completely overwhelmed, was looking toward that place, and started to chant and to scream a name. Narottam! Narottam! and asked him, Prabhu, why are you doing this? Why are you calling this name? And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revealed to him, very soon, an extraordinary devotee of mine will be born. And I want to deposit something here at this river, the Padmavati River. I want to offer something there to wait for Narottam. When Narottam comes, he can take what I have left for him. Everyone was astonished. Oh, what is this? Who is this Narottam? When we hear about the Nara Leela of the Lord, Nara means human-like and Leela is pastime. So when Mahaprabhu was saying Narottam, Narottam, like Uttam, high class, topmost, the most highest extent of something, that personality, that person will take birth. The most high class personality is going to appear, and his name will be Narottam. So at that time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entered into the Padma River. And what did he do? It is said that he left his own prem, his love and his deep affection, his own mood of separation and love for Radha and Krishna, he deposited in that river. When he entered the Padma River, it started to overflow. It is said in some places that it started to flood the surrounding village. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Oh Padmavati, O goddess of this river, when Narottam comes to this place, I want you to give him this love that I've deposited, that I've hidden in your waters." And Padmavati, the goddess of the river, asked him, "O Prabhu, how will I recognize your Narottam?" Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, when somebody comes and they enters the river, and just like you overflowed and you felt such ecstasy when I entered this river, you will feel the exact same thing. You will begin to feel ecstatic and you will overflow. At that time, you will know that is Narottam, and you should deposit with him what I have left. And so she offered pranam, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left. After some time, it is sometimes said after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left, and sometimes it is said a little bit differently. Anyhow, at some point, there was a very beautiful palace and a very beautiful king. The king's name was Krishnananda, and the wife's name was Nārāyaṇa Devi, the queen. They had a beautiful baby boy, and they named him Narottam. It is said that this Narottam was so beautiful that anyone who would look upon him would be astonished by his beautiful limbs, by his very beautiful lotus eyes. He was a very calm baby and he never cried. It is said that upon his first grain ceremony, when he was 6 months, they had a huge kind of celebration. In India, this is a big thing. In America or other countries, they don't think about that so much. But it's a huge samskar impression to have your first grain ceremony. Devotees do it with their children. So anyway, the king put on a huge festival for the first grain ceremony of this little baby Narottam. And they were trying to feed him rice, sweet rice. And Narottam wouldn't take it, and he was crying and pushing it away. There was an astrologer there who had done his chart. This astrologer told them he is going to be great and liberate thousands and thousands. They were thinking in a princely way. So they were very happy with this boy, but the astrologer looked and he said, "Oh, I know what it is. You haven't offered this food to Krishna. You haven't offered it to the Lord." They said, "Oh, yes, we haven't." So they went, they got fresh grains, they cooked it, they made sweet rice kheer, they offered it to Krishna. And then they brought it to the baby Narottam, and he immediately took it. And the king made a proclamation that from that day forward, his son and everyone, at least within his palace, were only going to take Krishna Prasad. So right there, from 6 months old, we've had this prasadam talk. Sometimes we say Shri Vishnu 3 times or whatever. But Narottam, from the age of 6 months, was showing he wouldn't take anything unless it was first offered to the Lord. When he was going to school, it is said that he was a Shrutidhar. It means that he, upon reading something once, could memorize it. It was his, and it would retain within him for good, like a photographic memory. And so he learned poetry, he learned all kinds of arguments, he learned all kinds of beautiful things. Even Sanskrit, he mastered. It is said he liked going to school at first, and then he found it completely, not just boring, but useless. Distasteful. He was very renounced from the beginning, even though he was a prince. And it is said that daily, you have to understand, this is very close to the time of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So everywhere around him, he was hearing the glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and all of their parikar. And he was becoming more and more obsessed with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So one Vaishnava named Krishna Das, every day he would come to see Narottam. And even though the king and the queen saw that Narottam's obsession with bhakti was becoming a little bit too much, a little overwhelming, because this Krishna Das was such a great saint, nobody could tell him he shouldn't come to see the prince. So every day he would come and he would spend hours telling Narottam all about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One day he even began telling him, when Narottam was about 12 to 16, he began to tell him all about Srinivasacharya and how Srinivasacharya went to Navadvip, went to Mayapur, and upon finding that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had left, that he had fainted. And when he was telling about the separation moods in the heart of Srinivasacharya, Narottam became inconsolable, and he would also faint in separation, not even meeting him yet. He didn't even meet Srinivasacharya, and yet within his heart he began to pray, I want the association of Srinivasacharya. He is like my own heart. He knew from just hearing about him. We hear how Rukmini became so attracted to Krishna just by hearing from one Brahmin. I think it was Nard Rishi. She was hearing about Krishna and she gave up desire for anything else, ready to give up her body if she couldn't attain Krishna. In the same way, Narottam became mad and mad for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In Sri Bhakti Ratnakar, it is said that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came in his dream and he told him, don't worry, be calm. One day I will come and I will dance in your kirtan. You should be shanti, you should be okay. Very soon you should go to Vrindavan. When Narottam woke up from this dream after seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all he could do was think, how can I get out of this prison? He was living in a palace. He had maidservants. He had any kind of wealth he wanted. But all he could think of was, this is my prison. His parents, just like Raghunath Das Goswami's parents.
It's okay. I'm just turning off the
hired guards that they should guard him continuously because they were afraid. This boy is going to run away. He's going to run away and become a mendicant, and he is our only son. The king had another brother who had a son named Santosh, who was the cousin.
Sorry. There we go. Sorry. Who was the cousin?
Who was the cousin of Narottam Das Thakur. Please. It's distracting.
I know. I had to turn off the ringer.
Okay.
Santosh was the cousin of Narottam Das Thakur.
But the king and queen, they were thinking, what will we do? He is the end of our lineage. If he becomes a devotee, if he becomes a bhakta of the Lord and runs away to become like a sadhu, what will happen? Nowadays, we see the very same thing happening. We have a friend, and he's so qualified, such a qualified young man. And he comes from a beautiful family. They have so much money. He has everything he can provide. And yet it was so hard for him to find a wife because he was a devotee. They didn't want that. They want to go and have a disco, and they want to have all the things that Western people have. But he's dharmic, and he's a bhakta, and he follows very strongly this Sanatan Dharma. And so the parents, all the women were like, no, we don't want this. Now it's a disqualification. So anyway, Narottam Das Thakur wanted to leave, and so they hired a guard, and he was thinking, I'm in prison, somehow I have to escape. So day and night he was crying and weeping and praying to the Lord. One night he had a dream, and in this dream Śrī Nityananda Prabhu Ar Kabe Nitai Chander Koruna Hoive Sangsara Vashan.
More kabe tu chahave.
When will Nityananda Prabhu give me his mercy? When will he give his mercy to me, and I will be able to leave all of this samsara? Very easily after that, I will attain Vraj. Narottam Das Thakur has written this. That night in a dream, Śrī Nityananda Prabhu came to him. Oh Narottam, wake up, wake up. Quickly you should go and you should bathe in the Padma River. There, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has left something for you. Wake up, and quickly go to Vrindavan. It just so happened that the day before, the father of Narottam Das Thakur, he was like a little king, he was a big landowner, but a small king. But the king of Bengal, the big king, called him and other kings for a meeting. So his father was gone, his mother wasn't there, and somehow or other he was able to sneak out of the house. And early in the morning he ran to the Padma River. We know that he grew up next to this river. He would bathe there, he would play there. So many would go there. But yet, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's praying never entered his heart. But when he received the mercy of Śrī Nityananda Prabhu, who is actually, Mahaprabhu is his. Without going to him, how can we go to Mahaprabhu? He himself told Raghunath Das Goswami, you tried to steal what is my property. You tried to go to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without me, you thief. I will punish you. So in this way, we understand that Nityananda Prabhu came to Narottam and gave his mercy and gave him an instruction. Now go and receive the mercy of Mahaprabhu. Immediately he went, and as he entered into the Padma River for the first time, after the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that river began to feel ecstasy. She began to rise and swell and flood everywhere. And she realized, Narottam at last has come. At that time, what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu deposited there, she opened up, and immediately Narottam was standing there. And he expresses what he saw. He said, I saw a beautiful golden personality weeping and chanting, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. He was running toward me, and I reached out to embrace him. But when I went to embrace him, he entered my heart, and from then I became mad. It is said that he began to roll on the bank of that river Padmavati. He began to cry out the names of Gauranga and Nityananda. He began to cry out, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. No one could even recognize him. They thought he was mad. After some time, everyone in the palace realized, Narottam is gone. What happened? Where is he? They began to search for him, and they brought him back, but they didn't recognize him. Everything about him had changed. In some places it is said that his body was a little bit of a darkish complexion. But after this prema of Mahaprabhu entered his heart, he became very golden colored, like Gauranga. And anyway, he became mad for Krishna. So finally one night, he was able to sneak out. Actually, I think that's when the father was still gone. And he snuck out and he ran towards Vrindavan. He didn't think of anything else. He had no shoes. He didn't bring a suitcase with him. He didn't bring a servant or any money. He was completely surrendered.
Didn't you go toward Puri first?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
That's I think Shamananda. So he was running toward Vrindavan. And as he was going toward Vrindavan, it is said that sometimes for days at a time, he wasn't eating anything. He wasn't drinking anything. If something would come of its own accord, then he would accept that. But he was only thinking, I have to get the association of the Goswāmīs in Vrindavan. I have to get to Vrindavan because it was the order of Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu also told him in his dream that he should accept the shelter, the initiation from Śrīla Lokanath Das Goswāmī. We were at his Samadhi Mandir the other night. So Narottam one night fell asleep, and it is said, if you read Bhakti Ratnakar, that because he was a prince, what to speak of a prince of any of us, days and days with no shoes, but his feet were so soft, and he was running with no shoes on, and his feet were cut, and they had all kinds of blisters, and there were all kinds of thorns, and he was pretty much exhausted fully. One beautiful golden Brahmin brought him a pot of milk and said, "O Narottam, drink this and all of your fatigue will be gone. Not only that, your wounds on your feet will heal and you will very soon and quickly reach Braj." And then that Brahmin left, but he fell asleep. So it is said that in a dream, Rupa and Sanatan told him that Brahmin was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Wake up and drink that milk and then sleep. So Narottam woke up and he was weeping and weeping, having all of these astonishing darshans. And he drank that milk and miraculously all his fatigue left. He had no more cuts or wounds on his feet and he slept. It is said that every village that he would enter, everyone would become attracted to him. Immediately people would begin to chant, and not only that, they would feel blessed. Immediately upon seeing him, they would know this is an astonishing personality. Even ruffians would look at him and be astonished by his beauty. Finally, he reached Braj Mandal, and where did he go first? He went to Vishram Ghat. Going to Vishram Ghat, he went to Jamuna and he offered his pranam there. He bathed and he began to take rest for the evening right there at Vishram Ghat. At that time, so many people were seeing him and were speaking about him.
Is it Mathura?
And this is in Mathura. I said Braj Mandal, but Mathura. Vishram Ghat is in Mathura. So he went there and he was lying there, and so many were astonished by his beauty. They were thinking, who is he? He's not just an ordinary personality. We can see by the symptoms of his body that he's a Mahapurush. He had all the symptoms, like his arms were very long, his navel was very deep. There's all of these very beautiful qualifications. His fingers were long and not crooked. Very beautiful explanations about him. So one Brahmin, an old Brahmin heard about him. And so he came from his home with all kinds of foodstuffs. And he sat down next to Narottam and he was telling him, you should eat, you should eat. So Narottam took that prasad and then he looked at that Brahmin and he said, I'm on my way to go to Vrindavan. Do you have any news from there? Have you heard anything? what's going on in Braj now? The old man said, oh, have you not heard? Just recently, not so long ago, Sri Rupa and Sanatan, they have left this world. At that moment, Narottam began to wail and scream and cry in separation. He fainted again and again and was completely inconsolable. That Brahmin took him on his lap and was trying to help him and trying to wake him up and console him. But at that time, he entered into like a trance-like state. And Rupa and Sanatan appeared to him and began to instruct him, don't worry, we are always with you. And there are so many personalities waiting for you. Jiva Goswami is waiting for you. Lokanath Das Goswami, your guru, is waiting for you. Srinivasacharya, who you've been praying to meet, he is also there. Don't feel despondent. We are with you and we are giving you our darshan. It is said that Brahman, because he was holding on to Narottam and he had so much faith and honor, he was able to somehow hear the conversation that was going on between Rup Sanatan and Narottam Das Thakur. And because of that, he became so attached to Narottam that he didn't want to let him go. So in the morning, he was begging Narottam. The whole evening he stayed, and he was elderly. But in the morning he said, stay with me. Please don't go. Just stay a few days with me. And Narottam begged him, please give me your permission to go. I've already lost the chance for the association of Rupa and Sanatan. Raghunath Das Goswami is there. Gopal Bhatta Goswami is there. So Bhugarba Goswami is still there. I can't waste another second. Any opportunity, any second can't be wasted. I'm begging you, please allow me to go. So it is said that Brahmin followed him as far as he could walk toward Vrindavan, and then sent him with his own servant to make sure that he could find his way easily. It's quite incredible when we hear about the way the interactions are between Vaishnavas, when they see each other, when they come across each other. Oh, your beloved is the same as mine. Oh, you are my own family member. So he went to Vrindavan, and that night Srinivasacharya had a dream. Before he had arrived, Srinivasacharya had a dream that Jiva Goswami came to him and said, tomorrow morning, Narottam is coming. You should be ready to bring him to me. So in the morning time, after he did his morning mantras and bathing, he ran to Srila Jiva Goswami and told him of his dream. And Jiva Goswami confirmed it and said, yes, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to me in a dream and told me that he is on his way. So this is the way to also confirm dreams, that we go to a senior Vaishnava. I went to Gurudev once and I told him about a dream I had, and he said, I have not had the same dream as you. So it's always good to get our dreams confirmed. So Srila Jiva Goswami said, yes, it is true, he's coming. So Srila Jiva Goswami, Srila Srinivasacharya, and a few other Vaishnavas went to the edge of Vrindavan, waiting until they saw Narottam Das Thakur coming from Mathura. When they saw him, everyone was jubilant. Everyone was celebrating. The long-awaited Narottam. He was famous throughout all of the holy dhams. It wasn't only at the Padma River or near Ketari where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was calling the name of Narottam. It was in other places. So all of Mahaprabhu's parikar and all of their disciples, everyone was waiting for Narottam. Everyone knew that something extraordinary would happen through this Narottam. So when Narottam was finally coming, 16 years old, beautiful young boy. In many places you see different Vaishnavas say he was 12, But our Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja, he said he was 16 years old at the time. So he arrives in Vrindavan and immediately he offers his pranam to Srila Jiva Goswami. But when he sees Srinivasacharya, it is said that they began to weep profusely and they were embracing each other. And all of the Vaishnavas immediately understood they are like one heart. It is like they cannot be separated. It is like as if they were never separated. This was their very first meeting, but yet they were holding on to each other as though they belonged to each other. Through separation, they already knew each other's hearts. They both knew that they were weeping in separation from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Gadadhar Pandit, so many of the Parikar, the personal associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and now Sri Rupa and Sanatan. So their hearts are like a bosom friend. It means heart to heart. Everything in their hearts they understood and they were weeping. Immediately Jiva Goswami brought him to see Lokanathas Goswami and to have darshan of Radha Vinod Bihari Ji. Then he was brought...
Radha Vinod Bihari?
Radha Vinod Bihari. Is that wrong?
Radha Vinod.
Oh, Radha Vinod. Radha Vinod Ji. And then he was taken to Madan Mohan Mandir. Then he was taken to Govindaji. And then he was taken to Gopinath Mandir. And he met Madhu Pandit there. But it is said that when he went to the Samadhi Mandir of Rupa Goswami at Radha Damodar, he was again inconsolable. And all of the Vaishnavas were already in such separation from Rupa and Sanatan that when they saw his mood of separation, they were again plunged into that realm of that separation. And when he also went to see Lokanath Das Goswami, Lokanath Das Goswami had practically given up everything because he was feeling such desperate separation from Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. So after some time, he became very learned under the tutelage of Jiva Goswami, Srila Jiva Goswami. At the time, he was known as basically the king of Vaishnavas.
Jiva Goswami?
Jiva Goswami. I didn't say that. Okay, so he was known as the king of Vaishnavas at that time. If anybody wanted to be known as a scholar or wanted to get any kind of credibility in any of the dhams, the holy dhams, then they first would have to get the certification of Srila Jiva Goswami. So there were 3 of them that were actually very much taking shiksha from Srila Jiva Goswami, who were his primary shishyas. He was giving them shiksha. That is Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivas Acharya, and Shyamananda Prabhu. We know at that time was Dukhi Krishna. Shyamananda was Dukhi Krishna, and they only called him Srinivas. Acharya was given later the title Acharya, and Shyamananda was given by Srimati Radhika herself, and with Narottam Das Thakur that was also given. Mahashai was given by Srila Jiva Goswami. Thakur Mahashai. So anyway, after learning under the tutelage of Srila Jiva Goswami, all of the works of the Goswamis, of Srila Rupa and Sanatan, they learned Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, they learned, going beyond like the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, they learned all the books, all of the Shastras, and they were also engaged in writing them, scribing them, like
transcribing.
No, also into Bengali.
Oh, from Sanskrit.
Yes, so that it could be easily accessible. Translating. So finally, after some time, Srila Jiva Goswami told Narottam, you should go and you should ask Srila Lokanath Das Goswami for initiation. Our Gurudev said at first, he asked, but I would like to take from you, from Jiva Goswami, because he said, you are teaching me everything. And he said, no, Lokanath Das Goswami is your guru. It is told by Mahaprabhu that he is your Gurudev, and I am your Shiksha Guru. So Gurudev, whenever he would speak about this topic, would become very involved. He would speak about the difference between Diksha and Shiksha Guru, and actually the non-difference between Diksha and Shiksha Gurus. He would say sometimes Shiksha Guru can be more because it may be more intimate. You may be able to say things that you can't to your Diksha Guru. There is more awe and reverence, but yet they are non-different from Sakshat Hari. They are both the same. So I'm not going to go into that now, but anyway, he went to Srila Lokanath Das Goswami and he begged him, please will you give me initiation? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had already appeared to Lokanath Das Goswami and told him that you should accept Narottam as your disciple, but he had made a vow that I will never accept any disciple. So when Narottam came to him, Lokanath Das Goswami said, no, I've made a vow, I'm not going to initiate anyone. And broken-hearted, Narottam left there. It is said in different places it took him from 6 months to about a year. He was trying in very different ways to sway Lokanath Das Goswami to initiate him. And when Gurudev tells this Leela, he also speaks about how our Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur went to Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj asking for initiation. Why did Srila Lokanath Das Goswami say no also? Oh, you're a prince. You're from such a high-class family. You're the only son of the king and the queen. No, you're not going to be my disciple. How can you? You're such a young boy. It's impossible. And when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur came to Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, what did he say? Oh, you're so intelligent. I can't even sign my own name. I'm illiterate, I know nothing, and your knowledge is so great and vast. You can count the stars in the heaven, and you can even probably count the grains of sand on the sea. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur left there thinking, all of this knowledge that I have had in my brain is worth not one grain of sand. It is not worth anything. But one particle of dust of the lotus feet of his Guru is enough to deliver thousands and millions of jivas of this universe. And then he realized that all of that material knowledge of this world is nothing. It is absolutely nothing. So Sri Narottam Das Thakur went and he thought, how can I make his heart move toward me? What did he do? Every night in the middle of the night, he would go to the place where Lokanath Das Goswami would daily pass stool. And in the nighttime, Narottam Das Thakur would go there with the broom and he would sweep that place. He would bring fresh dirt and he would cover it very nicely, and he would sprinkle it with scented water and make it a beautiful area. And he was doing this night after night. Our Gurudev said one night, Srila Lokanath Das Goswami thought, who is this thief who is coming and taking this stuff? And who is coming and cleaning this area? Who is that? So one night he decided to stay hidden in the bushes, and he was doing his bhajan. He was chanting and watching to see who that thief was. Very soon he saw one young boy going there and sweeping the kunja. Going there, he caught hold of the hand of that thief and said, hey, who are you? What are you doing? And he said, oh, Prabhu, it is me. It is Narottam. He said, why are you doing this menial thing? Why are you sweeping this stool? And he said, because I'm trying to somehow melt your heart, that you will accept me as your disciple. I will take any menial position, but I beg you, please accept me as your own. This is a very, very important thing for us. It's important. Why? Initiation isn't some haphazard kind of thing that we see someone for the first time and we think, yeah, I'm just going to accept that person. I don't know anything about them. They don't know anything about me. I've seen people that are still eating meat and someone initiates them and they're still eating meat. They don't know what happened to them. They're like, yeah, this guy came, he put this around my neck and he said my name is this and I'm supposed to chant on this.
They don't even know the name of their guru.
They don't even know the name of their guru. And they're like, I think my name was something like Krishna, and you're just sitting there astonished. This is a life and death situation. Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Mahārāja says, this is life and death. It is not child's play. This is my life. And not only my life, this is the Atma. I am putting the care of this Atma in the hands of somebody and I am saying, I am surrendering unto you. I have full faith that you can give me Krishna. This isn't even like giving your child into a daycare. With something like that, you will do research. You will go into it. With a bank account, with anything, you will do research. Why not when it comes to Guru? So anyhow, there was this mood going on between them, and finally, Śrīla Lokanath Das Goswami consented, and he said, okay, after your morning bath in Jamuna, you should come to me and I will give you initiation. Very soon, Narottam Das Thakur began to live in a little place next to Lokanath Das Goswami. One day, Lokanath Das Goswami was chanting his Harinam, and so was Narottam Das Thakur. They were very close to each other. And a Brahmin came there who was very thirsty, and he saw there was a well nearby, but there was no bucket or rope to get any water. So first he went to Lokanath Das Goswami and he was asking, oh Babaji, please, I need some water, can you help me? But Lokanath Das Goswami was completely immersed in chanting his Nam, Harinam, in Nam Bhajan, and he didn't even hear the Brahmin. So then he went to Chota Baba. He said, oh Chota Baba, that means, oh little Babaji, oh little Baba, can you please give me some water? And at that time, Narottam Das Thakur got up and he went, is something wrong?
The normal internet stopped, but that's still going, so it's okay. I'm watching there, it's still going. So Chota Baba, please give me some water.
Narottam went and he went to bring him some water. And after that Brahmin left, and after Srila Lokanath Das Goswami was finished with his Harinam, he said to Narottam Das Thakur, you have to leave here. You're not qualified to be here and to just chant the holy name. Because you don't understand that Krishna is non-different from his name. You left the service of Krishna to serve another person. Just like we know when we're serving the deity, if somebody walks in, we don't leave the seva of Thakurji unless it is our Gurudev. We continue the service of Krishna. There is rules. I know they say no hard and fast rules, but when you are actually doing seva, then it becomes something of an intimate thing. You don't just leave your seva, just like when you're doing an offering to Thakurji. You have to, after you're done with the offering, give them tambulam, and then you have to ask them to leave. You don't just walk away with their plate and leave them sitting there after you've called them. You also ask them to please go back to what they were doing. So there are some moods of relationship there. Not that you're just something that I use at the time and place and circumstance so I can have my lunch or get my rounds done. So Lokanath Das Goswami did this, and our Gurudev said, we will have to reconcile this. Because Narottam Das Thakur is such a high-class Vaishnava. We shouldn't think like, oh, that he was sent out of Vraj. There was a very inner meaning as to why he was sent. Just like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was told by Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, after he was initiated, the first thing Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj told him, don't go to Calcutta. Where was the first place he went to preach even before he opened his first mat there? Calcutta. And so when Srila Narottam Das Thakur was told you should leave, there was a purpose behind it. So our Gurudev said we should reconcile. What was the purpose behind it? And Srila Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur going to Calcutta, because that was the place that was Kali was infiltrating the most. And from that place, he was going to go all out. And that's where also he met our Srila Prabhupada. And that's where that message went all over the world. So basically, it's like a bandhu sange jadita baranga parihas. Whatever you do, don't go. He knew the inner meaning of his Gurudev's words and he did it. But this for us should always be confirmed. If our Gurudev says don't do something or do something, if we don't truly understand, then we should ask questions. So with Narottam Das Thakur, it was it.
Can I add something in this connection? So we should understand that Srila Narottam Das Thakur is an eternal associate of Radha and Krishna, and so is Lokanath Goswami. They're both maidservants of Srimati Radhika in Vrindavan. So these pastimes, we should not look at them like a mundane thing, but rather that through this pastime, they're teaching the entire world. Narottam Das Thakur is taking that role. Of course, he understands that there's no difference between Krishna and his holy names, and yet, for the purpose of teaching the rest of the world, he's showing this pastime of giving that farmer or that person water while he was chanting. And Lokanath Goswami says, you are not qualified, you should leave this place immediately, you should go home and you should give in charity to the poor and do all of these things, but you think it is more important to serve the senses of the materialists of this world rather than serving the transcendental senses of Krishna. So this was a very powerful lesson, but we should not think that Narottam Das Thakur made a mistake. Just like Arjuna is asking Krishna so many questions, but really we know that Arjuna is completely transcendental and an eternal associate of Krishna. But for the benefit of all of the world, he's asking so many questions. So in the same way, for the benefit of the world, these pastimes are taking place between these two transcendental personalities. So we should not look upon Narottam Das as being something less, that he doesn't understand the value of Harinam. Of course he understands the value of Harinam, but this lesson is for us, that we should respect Krishna's names. We shouldn't think, you know, sometimes people see you with your japa mala on and they're like, what are you doing? Why don't you do some service, Prabhu? And actually that's an offense to Harinam Prabhu. To think that Harinam Seva is not actually service, but that it's better service to go and mop the floor. This is actually offensive to Sri Harinam Prabhu. So separate time should be given for all of these services. It's not that we should neglect Harinam Prabhu to give the other service preference. So some people think that if you're chanting, you're not doing service, but this idea is actually offensive.
Actually, as he's saying this, I just want to relate one pastime to prove what he's saying. And that is that one time when Srila Narottam Das Thakur was chanting Harinam and doing some very deep bhajan, Srimati Radhika came to him and told him who he is. She said, you are actually eternally Champak Manjari and your service is boiling milk. And so every day when he would chant his Harinam, he would enter into that mood and he would, by Manasi Seva, be boiling milk and making kheer in the mind. So he would be chanting his Harinam and doing this. And one day, it just so happened that the fire was too big and he saw that the milk was about to overflow and she didn't have anything to remove that milk with. So she took with her hands and moved it off to the side to take it off the fire so the milk wouldn't overflow. And immediately that broke her trance. And in the mood of now again being Narottam Das Thakur, he saw that his hands were actually burnt. So we can understand that it wasn't imagination, that he was actually doing that kind of seva for Radha and Krishna. I would have told a different story about a Manasi seva we once saw here. Should I tell it?
Yeah.
Okay. Once Sajjan Maharaj, it was our Srila Bhaktivedānta Srila Prabhupada's disappearance festival here in Vrindavan, or I think it was Govardhan, Varshana. And Sajjan Maharaj, he was going to do the arti, and he couldn't find any of the paraphernalia. So someone said to him, probably Vijay, was it Vijay?
No, Kishori.
Kishori. Told him, just do it by mind, do Manasi Seva. So he thought, okay, I'll do that. And so he started doing, pretending to ring the bell, and he was doing arti, doing the incense. And
but there was no bell and no incense.
There was nothing, no paraphernalia. And finally he's doing the chamra.
No like chamra.
There's no chamra. He's just waving his hand and pretending he has a bell. And Gurudev walked in and he just was like, what is going on here? And then he's like, well, we didn't find the paraphernalia, so I was just doing Manasi Seva. And Gurudev just looked at him and he said, how would you like if I fed you by mind? Would you be full? Are you qualified for that? Can you do that? He said, you should not, this is sahajya. You should not just superimpose that we can do these things. You should have the paraphernalia and do it properly. So we shouldn't think that what Sri Narottam Das Thakur was doing is anything less than the highest class of worship of Radha and Krishna. But otherwise, Narottam Das Thakur would have been only doing bhajan in Vrindavan. Why would he leave? Why would he leave Vraj and go anywhere else? He ran away from a kingdom. He ran away from wealth. He only wanted to be with the Vaishnavas. This was the only way that he would ever leave. So at that time, Srila Jiva Goswami told Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivasacharya, and Shyamananda Prabhu to carry the books of the Goswamis and to preach, to take them to Bengal and to preach the moods of the Goswamis, because at that time there were already, this is only some few years after Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had left, I think there were already 13 Apasampradayas, 13, and already so many misconceptions that were going on. Gaur-Nagari Bhav, so many different things. I mean, Janava Thakurani was still present in this world. Mahaprabhu's Parikar were still present in this world, and yet these things were going on. So all the works of the Goswamis were going out to try to rectify and show what is the real mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what is proper Bhakti Siddhanta. So that was going out. So as these three went out, Gurudev gave this as the example. He said he would have stayed doing bhajan, but because he was told to leave, then because of that, we have our lineage that we have today. We are so indebted to Narottam Das Thakur. I hope we have enough time to tell all these.
Let's continue a little bit tomorrow if we need to.
So, Narottam Srinivas and Shyamananda Prabhus all went out, and they had some guards with them to carry these big, beautiful trunks that were locked. And they were carrying them, and they were going through the Jarikanda forest and going the way Mahaprabhu went to from Jagannath Puri to Vrindavan. They were following that path as much as they could. And when they would find that Mahaprabhu had a baitak, a sitting place somewhere, or when they went into the Jarikanda forest, they would dance in ecstasy and they were overwhelmed with prem. One night they came to one place called Vanavishnupur, and there was a dacoit king. This king's name was Virdhamvir. This king was like anyone who would come into his kingdom and his forest, he would rob them. He had a great astrologer.
Dacoit king.
Yeah, I said a dacoit king. He had a great astrologer, and this astrologer would always tell him where to go and what to do. So this astrologer came to him and said, from my calculations, there is a treasure in the forest right now that is beyond anything this world has ever seen. If you get this treasure, you will never want for anything again. It is the greatest treasure you can imagine. The jewels are priceless. And then he said, but those who are carrying this treasure, those who are bringing it through, should not be harmed. By somehow, you should take it, but they shouldn't be harmed. This was one of the conditions. So the king sent his dacoits, don't harm them while they're asleep somehow, take it. By the will of the Lord, they all fell asleep that night. So those dacoits took the treasure. What was that? The books. When the king saw it, it was locked. And privately, he opened it up. He wanted to see, what is this treasure? He opened it up and he saw all of the books. I think it was in Bhaktivedānta, it said that he was so shocked. And when he saw the writings of the Goswāmīs and the handwriting on those palm leaves, that he immediately felt some kind of ecstasy. And he started offering pranam to that treasure. And he hid it away and he thought, one day I have to find those persons who this belonged to. When those three woke up in the morning and saw that their treasure was gone, they were inconsolable. So Srinivasacharya, who was the elder and the leader, said, I have heard a rumor that the king of Vanavishnupur has these books, so I will go there and I will figure out how to get them back. You both should go respectively to your places, Orissa and Khetri. So they both, Srinivasacharya went to Vanavishnupur, and Narottam Das Thakur and Shyamananda Prabhu both went to Khetri actually. So then, long story, the king became a devotee, a very great devotee of Srinivasacharya, and that's another story. We have to continue with Narottam. So anyway, the books were retrieved, everybody was happy, and again they made their way toward Jagannath Puri and toward Khetri Dham actually. So Narottam Das Thakur decided that he wanted to go and to hopefully see whoever was left of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates that were left in this world. So at that time, he decided to go on pilgrimage, and he went first to Navadvip in Mayapur, and he went and he had darshan of all of the places. Even Ishan Thakur, the servant of Mother Sachi Devi, was still present. And every time they saw Narottam, everywhere they heard that Narottam had come, they called him Mahaprabhu's Narottam, because everyone had heard that Mahaprabhu would chant and weep in ecstasy, calling for him. So some of them, upon meeting him, would say, I've only remained in this world so that I could have your darshan.
Wow.
They're like, we wanted to see you. Otherwise, how could we bear the separation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? It would have been impossible. So many of those Vaishnavas got to see finally Narottam, and Narottam was continuously weeping and touching their feet and getting their mercy and their blessings. Also, he went and he met Janava Thakurani, and she put her feet on his head, and he got so much mercy from her. So from this point, I want to give Kishori Mohan Prabhu a little bit of time to speak about his preaching. And then hopefully we can go to the first Gaur Purnima festival, because that will be the end of the Katha, actually.
I'll be quick.
Kishori's never quick.
Please let us know if you can see what's going on. I can't tell if it's clear or not clear, but our normal internet isn't working.
Śrī Narottam Das Thakur ki jai, Titiya Tirobha Maha Mahotsava ki jai. So yes, we're not able to see if we're having a decent quality broadcast. So please let us know if it might be possible that we can discover that. Let's see.
Champak says it's clear.
Okay, good. I'm just checking here. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay, good.
Chaloji.
I'm just turning this off. There we are. All right. So, Śrī Narottam Das Thakur was not born in a family of Brahmanas. By caste, his caste was Kayashta. I looked it up on Wikipedia today. I looked it up through so many different means, and
well, that's important.
they cannot exactly describe what that caste is. It's Kshatriya by its nature, but because most of them were like ministers to the king and they were scribes, expert in writing, they kind of had the position of Brahmana. But some people consider them more like Shudra because they were like servants. So they kind of don't exactly fit into the normal idea of the caste system. So Narottam Das Thakur, he was traveling everywhere and preaching. In fact, he went to Manipur and converted the entire kingdom by converting the king to Gaudiya Vaishnavism. He converted the entire kingdom of Manipur. Srila Gurudev said even to this day, his bhajans are sung daily by the population of Manipur. So his preaching was very powerful. Everywhere he traveled, so many were attracted. And he was so brilliant, he was able to disseminate the teachings of Mahaprabhu in such a way that so many hundreds and thousands were accepting the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Sri Narottam Das Thakur, because he was from this other caste, mind you, in India, still to this day, caste system and caste consciousness is very prevalent, very prevalent. So, yeah, when we hear Kartal Ching, it would be like, okay, it's almost time to stop. And then a second, 2 chings, Gurudev would say like, okay, that means wind up, you've got 1 minute left. And then 3 chings, you're out. So I've heard the 1. That was pretty quick. No! So, Sri Narottam Das Thakur, he was giving initiation to so many persons. And he understood the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What is the qualification? What is the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? What is written in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita? Sri Rai Ramananda was considered Shudra by his birth. But what is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saying? Kiba Vipra, Kiba Nyasi, Shudra Keninoi, Ye Krishna Tattvaveta, Se Guru Hoy. Whether one is a Brahmin, whether one is a sannyasi, whether one is a Shudra, whatever they are, if they are conversant in Krishna Tattva, it means that they are actually Tattvadarshis. If they have awakened their relationship with Krishna, then they're qualified to be the guru of the entire world. So Narottam Das Thakur understood these basic foundational principles that one cannot judge a Vaishnava by birth. If one does so, this is considered aparad. Even Krishna is telling this in Bhagavad Gita. The soul is eternal, the body is temporary. So just basically from that one foundational point, that the body is temporary, and all the designations of the body are also temporary along with that body, and the soul is eternal. So just from that foundational point that one is not their body, it's so easy to establish Vaishnava Dharma, Sanatan Dharma, Bhagavat Dharma, the nature or the Dharma, the function of the soul in relationship with Krishna. So Sri Narottam Das Thakur was initiating so many and converting so many to the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which we can discuss in much more detail as we are going along for the remainder of the, as long as COVID exists. They say it could exist.
After.
Yeah, well, it's going to continue to exist because every flu's name is COVID, so we can continue discussing the glories of Mahaprabhu and his teachings and Krishna, so thank you. So, Sri Narottam Das Thakur, he was initiating so many. It so happened that once upon a time, there was one very famous and prominent Brahmana. His name was Shivananda Acharya. And he was a devotee of Kali. Kali is a ferocious form of, you could say, the material energy. In Bengal, she is very prominently worshipped. And they do animal sacrifices to her, even to this day. So he had 2 sons, very prominent sons. One's name was Hari Ram, and the other one's name was Ramakrishna. So he was sending them to do a puja, to sacrifice some goats to the goddess. on their way to do so, they met with Śrī Narottam Das Thakur. And who was with him at the time? Ramchandra Kaviraj. And at that time, seeing them, they were spontaneously attracted to them, to their beauty, to their persona. And they had some conversation with them. At that time, Śrī Narottam Das Thakur, you want to take this?
Yeah, just to make sure it's working.
Oops, just turning off the volume here. There you go. Wait.
Thank you.
Okay.
I just need to.
So at that time, Śrī Narottam Das Thakur and Ramchandra Kaviraj, by their association, completely converted these two. By giving all of the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, these two became Vaishnavas. And he told them, don't sacrifice these poor innocent animals. You can let them live, and you should accept the teachings of Mahaprabhu. Worship Krishna with your life and soul. Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Karo Krishna Shiksha. These two accepted it, but their father, Shivanandacharya, became very upset. So he started communicating with other Brahmin priests, and then they brought it to the local king. I think his name was Murari. If I'm not sure, yes, Murari. They all had very nice devotional names, names of Krishna. So then it was a big issue that took place, because many people were upset with Narottam Das Thakur, in the same way that they were upset with Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, or Bhaktivedānta Thakur, or Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada.
Our Śrīla Prabhupada.
Our Śrīla Prabhupada. So many of them were not born in Brahmin families. And in fact, to this day, there are some who are born in Brahmin families who everyone know may be doing all kinds of nefarious activities, who still think themselves so much more qualified that they will reinitiate the disciples of our Srila Gurudev. And this is going on to this day. So, on this point, our, Srila Narottam Das Thakur was initiating so many, but they were becoming upset and angered. Look what happened with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada, and his Parikrama party. When they came to Prodhamaya, this one area in Navadvip during Parikrama with thousands of devotees, so many conspired against him and his party to kill Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada.
Also, when he came to Vrindavan, they closed all.
Yes. So much so that they actually were throwing stones and bottles and bombs and everything at the Parikrama party, and many people actually became hurt. And they wanted to kill Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. Our Param Gurudev Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Mahārāja brought him to safety and arranged his passageway back to Mayapur. But why were they conspiring against him? Because he was preaching the truth of Shastra, as it is, from the words of Krishna, from the words of all scriptures, about what is the proper qualification for who can give Krishna. And so because of this, people were losing money, they were losing their name, their fame, their position, and their status. Wait a second, if anyone can initiate, then what about our position? So, as Kunti Devi says in Śrīmad Bhagavatam, there are 4 main disqualifications for bhakti. The first one is janma, high birth. Why? Because it makes one very proud and egotistical. And that is exactly opposite to what is necessary to be able to love and serve Krishna properly. Trinarapi sunichena, tarorapi sahishnana, amanina amanadena kirtaniya sadahari. If one wants to always chant the holy names of the Lord, then one should be in a humble state of mind. One should be ready to give all respect to others, expecting none for themselves. Well, when one is born into a very high position, it's very, very difficult, because one will always look down upon those they think lesser than them. And also they have this mood, I can do whatever I want, and I can get away with it. So, Janma Aishwarya means excessive wealth, Shruta, high education, and Shri, bodily beauty. These 4, Kunti Devi says, are disqualifications, and the worst of those 4 is Aishwarya. Excessive wealth, because one can buy the services of the other 3 by their excessive wealth. This is what our acharyas have told. So Śrī Narottam Das Thakur, he was initiating so many, but so many others were becoming upset. These two sons of Shivananda took initiation from Narottam Das Thakur, who they considered was a lower caste than themselves. And this is considered an absolute taboo no-no. So Narottam Das Thakur was giving Krishna prem, and they were thinking about bodily status. So in this connection, I want to continue speaking about this subject because it is so essential and so important. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Chatur Varnam Maya Shrishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. How can one know what qualification one has? Even in this body, one is known according to their guna, their qualities, and their karma, their activities. Chatur Varna means Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. So traditionally, before the modern, our Srila Prabhupada has written this again and again, thousands of times in his books, before the modern system of caste was established, that it is simply by birth, before that it was by qualification and activities. That's why who was it? Radheya, the son of Radha, who we know also as Karna, was serving his Gurudev, Parshuram. That time, he was massaging him or something. He was holding him in his lap or massaging him. And at that time, something was causing him extreme pain. And yet he was able to tolerate it. And he had said, I'm nothing. I'm just the servant of, I'm the son of Radha. She's a servant lady like this. And Parshuram recognized, wait a second, this is a Kshatriya. And he became very angry at that time. Because he was, in essence, lying. He said, oh, by your nature, by your qualities, I can determine that you are not the son of a Shudra, that you are not like this, that you are actually Kshatriya. So he can tell by his intrinsic nature. We've seen this in history. More than this, what does Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say? Naham Vipro na Chanarapati na api Vaishyo na Shudro. I am not the Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. In the conversation with Raya Ramananda, every time Raya Ramananda would bring these things up, Mahaprabhu would say, this is external. Go further. Go on. Go on. Because he didn't want to remain within the realm of the mundane. This life, I may be in the body of someone who's born into a family of Brahmanas, or Kshatriya, or Vaishya, or Shudra. And next life, I can be in the body of any other caste. So this is temporary, it is external. It is not according to the nature of the soul. There are so many persons born in families of Brahmins who are some of the most simple persons you can ever imagine, doing all kinds of nefarious activities. Just because they have the title or the last name of a Brahmin does not mean that they are acting according to the nature of Brahman. So just being born in a situation is not the qualification. According to the principles of bhakti, qualification is determined according to the depth of bhakti. Even just after the time of our Srila Gurudev's departure from this world, so many different disciples of our Gurudev and groups started changing and twisting the teachings. And even one very prominent group, they were also preaching this idea, which we were shocked about, that, oh, we won't even touch a potato if it is peeled by a Westerner. But these Brahmins are so high class, like this. And we were like, my God, have you not heard the teachings of Mahaprabhu? Have you not heard the teachings of our Acharyas? Hari Bhaktivedānta says that anyone who judges a Vaishnava according to his birth, or even according to his activities before he has taken shelter of Sri Guru, before he has accepted initiation, they have paved a pathway for themselves to hell. If one is judging a Vaishnava like this, looking at Narottam Das Thakur, oh, he's not born in my caste, like this. So judging him like that, not by his qualification of bhakti. So Mahaprabhu says, what is our identity? Gopi bhartu padakamalayor das das anudas. My only identity is that I am the servant of the servant of Krishna, the beloved of the gopis. One particular gopi, Vrishabhananandani Srimati Radha Thakurani. This gopi specifically. So Mahaprabhu is saying this, and really this is the mood of all of our Rupanuga Guru Varga. They wanted to kill Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. They wanted to kill Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. They wanted to kill Narottam Das Thakur as well. They wanted to kill so many of our Guru Varga. Why? Because they were preaching the truth, what was given in Shastra, and their positions were being challenged.
Even when Saraswati Thakur came here with his disciples.
Yes. Even when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada came to Vrindavan with his disciples, all of the main temples of Vrindavan closed their doors. No entry. But there was one big conversation which took place in one particular temple, and because one of those personalities had some affectionate relationship with Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and understood that actually we need to work together to establish the teaching that worship of the deity form of the Lord is a proper, time-honored and Vedically accepted thing. And so many were preaching this Mayavad conception. They wanted to put a dog on top of, like a murti of a dog on top of the Jagannath temple to prove that there's no difference between a dog and Jagannath. This kind of mood was very prevalent in India at that time. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur completely smashed all of these misconceptions. So when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada came here to Vrindavan with his disciples, every temple closed their doors. Eventually, one temple opened their doors, and that was because of one person. The rest were arguing against, but he was the most prominent, and he was very strong in his conclusions, and therefore they opened that temple for Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada and his disciples, and that was the temple of Śrī Radharaman. And it was because of that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada was able to give his dissemination, his discussion on the subject of Brahman and Vaishnava. So there's a very amazing book which is based on those discussions of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada.
That was much earlier.
It was earlier?
Yeah.
Okay. So coming back to Narottam Das Thakur. Narottam Das Thakur, he had initiated these two Brahmin boys. And those others were looking, oh, you are from a lower caste. So they became really upset. They decided to have a big debate. So they invited Narottam Das to go there, Narottam Das Thakur to go there, and so many big pundits and Brahmins. Gurudevs named every single kind of Brahmin and how big their turbans were. This one with the Bhattacharya, and this one the Trivedi and the Chaturvedi, and so many different kinds that were going to go there and try to defeat Narottam Das Thakur. Narottam Das Thakur had some very prominent disciples whom previously had those misconceptions, but he soundly defeated them. One was Ganga Narayan Chakravarti, and another one, I can't remember his name at the moment, but so many of his disciples went ahead to that place. Do you know the place?
I don't remember. Go.
I can't remember the name of the location, but they went ahead to that location and they took the positions of street shopwallas, teawala, chaiwala, panwala,
just shop, clay pots.
Yeah, people that were selling the most menial things, like the tea shops and the pawn shop. Pan means not a pawn shop like in the West. Pan means, that stuff that people chew when their mouth becomes red and they're spitting constantly.
What does pan mean in the West?
Betel nut. Oh, a pawn shop in the West is where you...
Oh, a pawn shop. Okay.
Where you leave your ring and get some money for the time being. So they had occupied all of these posts and dressed up like local shopwallas. And all of these big Brahmin pundits had come to this place. And when they would arrive, they would greet them because they needed to get all of their supplies. So these disciples of Narottam Das Thakur, they would greet these big Brahmin pundits. And they would say, oh, so what brings you here? Oh, I'm coming for this big debate. Or what is your name? And they would tell their name. What is your title? Oh, like this. And then in pure Sanskrit, these disciples of Narottam Das Thakur would respond back to these Brahmin priests or Brahmin Pandits, but in pure Sanskrit, the highest quality Sanskrit. And then they would say, actually, that is not who you are. That is not your name. And then they would say, what is Sanatan? The soul is eternal, but the body is temporary. And the name which comes with that body and your position is all temporary. We are moving through 8,400,000 species of life, sometimes going all the way up to Brahmalok, sometimes becoming a germ, and all of the species in between. So which one are you really? And these in pure Sanskrit, and the Brahmins were, every time they would give any counter argument, this chaiwala, or this clay potwala, or this panwala, or anyone else, they would soundly defeat all of their arguments, and they were becoming really upset and scared. Wait a second.
The king said about,
So they were thinking, wait a second, if these people in this village, just these people in these lower positions, these chaiwalas and panwalas and clay potwalas and whatever, are so brilliant and speaking in pure Sanskrit, such high philosophy, imagine the qualification of their guru. And they became afraid and they all ran away from that place.
The king said that to the Brahmins. He was with them, and he said, if they're like this, what are you going to do? And then they left.
So they became afraid and they left that place. So many, they had this mood against Srila Narottam Das Thakur out of jealousy, actually. It was out of pride of position and out of jealousy. So they wanted to try to repress him, suppress him, stop him from giving initiation. But we see in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is his Nam Acharya? Srila Haridas Thakur. We saw also in the pastime with Haridas Thakur and Advaita Acharya. So Advaita Acharya was doing a big feast. Shraddh ceremony means for his departed father and his ancestors. And he invited all of the greatest Brahmins. But Advaita Acharya was the guru of all of the Brahmins. He was the most respected personality. So he invited all of them and he kept one seat special. And each one of those persons were thinking, which one of us is going to get that seat? I'm pretty sure it's me. I'm pretty sure it's me. And then Advaita Acharya went and looked outside. Is there anyone else? And then he saw Haridas Thakur. Oh, you come. He said, no. I'm here just to receive the remnants of all of these great personalities after they finish taking prasad. Don't bring me in there. My presence will contaminate everything. It will ruin everything. And Advaita Acharya basically forced him. He brought him inside and he placed him on the seat of honor. All of those big Brahmins became so upset. How dare he do this to us? How dare he insult us like this by putting this lowly Muslim up there in that seat of honor? Because Haridas Thakur was born and raised in a Muslim family. They didn't understand the nature of his bhakti. What does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita? Ma'am hi patta vyapashritya yepi syu papayonaya shtriyo vaishyas tata shudras tepi yanti param gatim. Even if one is born in a sinful birth, sinful meaning chandala, eating meat from the beginning of their life. Srila Prabhupada quoted this a lot for the benefit of all of the devotees who were born in families of meat eaters, but yet they came to Krishna consciousness and gave up all of that other activity. Krishna says, whatever situation one is born in, if they're born in a family of Shudras or Vaishyas or in a female form or from any other form or even in the family of Chandalas, meat eaters, in any situation, if they surrender unto me, they can easily attain to the highest destination. So Krishna is telling this for the benefit of the entire world. One might think themselves lowly, but it doesn't mean that they cannot attain to that highest destination. So Krishna is basically directly and indirectly stating here, mind you, this verse comes directly after apichetsu duracharo, where Krishna is saying that even if somebody accidentally, by some great mistake, if they're my one-pointed devotee, makes the greatest mistake and does the most sinful activity, If they are one pointed to me, still they should be considered a sadhu. I will quickly reinstate them to their original position, and then he tells that. So it's very interesting to see it in context. So Advaita Acharya puts Haridas Thakur on that seat of honor. All of them got upset. They were so offended. They say, we are leaving this place. And Advaita Acharya was laughing. You can go, you can go. As far as I'm concerned, serving one pure devotee of the Lord is better than serving millions of those who are offensive to the pure devotees of Krishna. So you can all leave, leave. If you leave, then I will feel that my day is perfect, that this Shraddha ceremony will be perfect. By serving him, I'm serving more than millions of the best of all of you. And then after they were walking away, they thought, oh my God, what have we done? What have we done? He's our guru. He must know more than us. And they all came back humbled. But here we're seeing that Mahaprabhu gave Haridas Thakur the honor, calling him Namacharya. He wept upon the disappearance of Haridas Thakur. He gave Haridas Thakur that blessing that upon his departure, Haridas Thakur was able to hold the feet of Mahaprabhu on his chest, look in the eyes of Mahaprabhu and say, Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, like this. And then he was able to depart. So we see in all of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, look at Rupa and Sanatan. Rupa and Sanatan, yes, they came from a very, very high-class Brahmin family, Karnataka Brahmin from South India over time. But they were working for the Muslim king very intimately. One was the private secretary, the other one was the Prime Minister. Sanatan was Prime Minister, Rupa Goswami was the private secretary. In those days, if the shadow of one of those personalities were to touch you, you would lose your caste. So who are Rupa and Sanatan? They are our everything. So our whole sampradaya, basically, coming through Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was Nimai Pandit, Mishra, but all of these personalities, Mahaprabhu is showing through all of them that what is the qualification? It is not age, it is not birth, it is not caste, it is not money, it is not how much you know, it's not any of these mundane attributes. It's only according to the depth of love and devotion for Krishna, bhakti that one has in their heart. And we've seen it through all of our Gaudiya Vaishnava acharyas, especially those ones who are figuring prominently. So Sri Narottam Das Thakur didn't even have to have that debate because that group of personalities was soundly defeated simply by speaking with the chaiwala and the panwala. So did you want to?
It's after 8. Kishori, it's after 8.
So can you, no?
I don't want to do it fast.
Okay, Sudevi doesn't want to have to rush through the rest of the beautiful pastimes of Sri Narottam Das Thakur, but this part was quite essential to discuss because it is such a prominent part of the teachings of Narottam Das Thakur, that what gives one the qualification? If one is in love with Krishna, then this is the qualification. Who can give Krishna? That person who has captured Krishna in the core of their heart by their love and affection. Sri Narottam Das Thakur is saying, Tomar hridaya sada Govinda Vishram, Govinda kohina mama Vaishnava paran. That, O Vaishnava Thakur, within your heart, Krishna is always residing there, resting there. And Krishna himself says, my Vaishnava, my devotee is my life and soul. So this is really the qualification. Somebody said something to Gurudev about many years ago about traveling over the ocean. Technically, if anyone travels over the ocean, they lose their caste, according to the scripture. And Gurudev started laughing and he said, oh, I lost my caste a long time ago. He's like, I'm a follower of the Vaishyas. I follow Radha and Krishna. I'm a follower of the gopis of Vrindavan. He's like, I lost my caste a long time ago. So he was completely laughing about it, that it was not the most essential or important thing. What is the important thing? Taking shelter of the lotus feet of a pure devotee of Krishna. And also becoming a pure devotee of Krishna.
Do you want to
Oh, so I know there's a lot less devotees today than there were when we were doing the out parikramas, but anyhow, yesterday I posted something at the end of the class, a little bit late, maybe an hour late, but if anyone is interested for us to assist you as your medium, proxy to make any offering to Govardhan on Anukut Maha Mahotsava, then I'll post it again here at the end of the comments. But you can send any little donation, it doesn't matter, even enough for 1 grain of rice, even enough for that much, and we can offer that in your name to Giriraj. As Sudevi told yesterday, our Srila Gurudev said that it may be that Lakshmi Devi has to beg, but if anyone offers anything to Giriraj, even 1 grain, they will never have to beg. But that shouldn't be the reason that we are making an offering. The real reason that we're making an offering to Giriraj is to somehow or other please Giriraj. Oh Giriraj, you can grant me access. You can awaken praying for the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. Please see the nature of my soul and be merciful to me. And accept me, allow me to reside at the banks of Radha Kund at your lotus feet. So, Giriraj Mahārāja ki jai. So if any of you are interested, on your behalf, we will give any offering to Giriraj Maharaj. And I will post PayPal and other possibilities if you would like to send anything for Govardhan, for Giriraj. So Śrī Narottam Das Thakur ki jai. Tadiya Tiro Bhav Maha Mahotsava ki jai. We will have to continue speaking about him because his glories, his beauty, his grace, his pastimes are so deep and so amazing. Our Gurudev said that we are in Narottama Parivar. It means we're coming in the family of Narottama Das Thakur. So it is essential for us to learn about that personality who is carrying the bhav, the prem of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and who has delivered it to us. Can I tell what Gurudev said about Gaura-Kishora Das Babaji Maharaj?
Yes, of course.
So, Srila Gaura-Kishora Das Babaji Maharaj told one of his followers, disciples, if you want Krishna Prem, then you should somehow acquire 2 books. One of them was Prarthana, and the other was Prem Bhakti Chandrika. Prarthana, within Prarthana there's Gauranga Bodhite Have, Pulaka Sharir, so many other bhajans, and within Prem Bhakti Chandrika, there's other bhajans like Shri Guru Charana Padma, Kevala Bhakati Sadma. So Srila Gaura-Kishora Das Babaji Maharaj said, if you want Krishna Prem, then you should take shelter of these prayers of Sri Narottam Das Thakur. And if you see these prayers, they're full of this depth of mood of praying and weeping and crying out for mercy. So his moods, his revelations, his kirtans are so beautiful and so powerful. So on this day, the disappearance of Sri Narottam Das Thakur, we're praying in the dust of his lotus feet that may he give us strength, chidbal, spiritual strength. May he give us his mercy that we might be able to even receive 1 particle of a drop of that Gaur Prem which was deposited in his heart, that he may bless us with even 1 particle of a drop of that. Śrī Narottam Das Thakur Mahāshaya ki jai. So we will continue speaking about him tomorrow. Are we going to go out anywhere tomorrow?
Maybe.
We may go out tomorrow to any location. Also, tomorrow I think is the appearance of Śrī Radha Kund. I will double check the calendar.
We're not going all the way to Radha Kund tomorrow, but we will go to Radha Kund. We'll take you there.
Absolutely. But yes. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
So I know it's late, but I have to say something because of what I just spoke. There needs to be a qualification. Just like the other day, we said we cannot lump all Gaudiya Math into one category. We cannot lump all Babajis into one category. And we cannot lump all Brahmins into one category. We have seen throughout history, and even among the associates of Mahaprabhu, that there were so many very qualified devotees who also had this designation of Brahmana. In fact, Raghunath Das Goswami, in his first verse of Manashiksha, is saying, Guru Goshte Gostaleshu Sujane Bhusuragane. So he's saying to give honor and respect to the Brahmins. Also, in Govardhan Puja festival, Krishna is also saying, offer to the Brahmins and to the cows. So we should not think that because of what we heard, that all Brahmins are bad or that all Brahmins have the misconception.
It didn't sound like that.
Okay, but still, I just want to make sure that this mood shouldn't come that, oh, all of them should be rejected. Actually, it is depending upon the mood of devotion within their heart, as we've already said. So if someone has the title Brahmana, and they're born in that family, and yet their heart is full of devotion for Krishna, this is really what gives the qualification. And still, they should be honored and respected because of their status. This is also given in Shastra. Just like if we see any sannyasi, we offer pranam naturally until we find out whether they're really good or not. But still, we should be respectful to the seniors, we should be respectful to the Brahmins, we should be respectful to the Vaishnavas, and all personalities. Amanina, manadena, kirtaniya sadahari. So please forgive me if I have created a situation in your heart where you feel that I have encouraged you to be offensive to all Brahmins. That is not my intention. My intention was only to show that Bhakti is dependent on qualification of the individual.
You made it clear by saying it wasn't by birth, that it was by mood and by
activity. You made it very clear.
But still, there is something to that birth
Okay.
and that title
Yes.
that should be honored and respected. It is also given in all Shastra. Srila Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Prabhupada also established that through the medium of this Brahman and Vaishnava. There are so many glories attributed to Brahmanas. They are said to be the stomach of the Lord. So if you feed the Brahmins, then the Lord is also satisfied. So please forgive me if I've made any inadvertent movement in your heart that had this mood of negativity toward all Brahmanas. There are mostly good and some that are not. So, okay.
Thank you. What?
So thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to remember the beautiful teachings of our Srila Gurudev and our Guru Varga, and especially on this day to remember the glories of Śrī Narottam Das Thakur and all of the lessons in his life, and to allow us to continue to remember him tomorrow.
Jai.
Also for engaging us in our Guru Seva on a daily basis. We are completely indebted to all of you. We look forward to being with you tomorrow. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe. Ki
Jai.
Jai. Sachinandana Gaura Hari
Ki Jai. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.